Once upon a time there was a small, quiet village in the Scottish countryside. It was called Rosslyn. In this village there was a chapel where the local people attended prayer, and once in a while a visitor came by to admire the beautiful carvings inside the chapel. Then, in the summer of 2004, there came a radical change. A novel was published called The Da Vinci Code, and one of its final scenes takes place in Rosslyn Chapel. The Da Vinci Code soon became extremely popular and eventually turned into one of the biggest bestsellers of all time. Its readers were so fascinated by the Da Vinci Code that they wanted to visit all the places that were described in the novel. Tourist numbers to Rosslyn Chapel increased from 30,000 to 190,000, and the quiet countryside chapel developed into one of the biggest tourist attractions of Scotland. Of course, Rosslyn Chapel is not a unique case. It can be said to be part of a new worldwide phenomenon called media tourism. More and more people travel to visit places they know through fictional media products. For instance, New Zealand has seen an enormous increase in the number of visitors after The Lord of the Rings hit the cinemas. New York has its own Sex and the City tour. And in Oxford, tourists are standing in line for the Inspector Morse tour. How to explain this increasing popularity of media tourism within contemporary culture? Why do people want to travel to real locations based on fictional media products? These questions will be looked at closely in a new research project called Media Tourism. Although the project is still at a very early stage, nevertheless already some interviews have been conducted. In the remaining part of this video I would like to show you some interview scenes that may help to explain the central research questions.
The Da Vinci Code mentions, I think, three things about Rosslyn specifically. The libraries underneath the crypt, for instance. Now, it mentions these three things, and people are very disappointed not to find any of them. And so sometimes they go away feeling a little bit cheated, that the book says this, where is the rose line, for instance. In a sense, that just reflects the fact that if people actually knew what a rose line was, then they would know they couldn't physically see it anyway. We, I think, to a great extent at Rosslyn, distanced ourselves slightly. We were very comfortable that the chapel was used as a background to the film. That was a purely commercial venture. We didn't do it to emphasize one view or another view. It was merely an opportunity, and in business you have to take opportunities. And so that was really as far as it went. If people wish to debate whether the Da Vinci Code was pro or anti-Catholicism, then frankly that's a different arena. Cynical though it might be, I think you have to take that view. As long as you don't openly come out and say, we're only letting you use the chapel because we believe in your book. I mean, that's nonsense. It's a film. I think it's a fictional film. I don't think you want to get too excited about it. And I think in some cases the church needs to grow a thicker skin. But we had no intention at the time of doing other than, in a sense, benefiting commercially from it.
How does the typical Da Vinci Code tourist look like?
Well, I don't really know what they look like as such, but their behaviour is quite noticeable. A lot of them lift up corners of the carpet to see if they can find the Star of David on the floor, which we don't actually have here. Dan Brown just wrote about that. We don't actually have it in the chapel. Yes. So I think a few people are quite disappointed by that. But a lot of them want to know kind of where they actually filmed and if I'd met any of the actors as well. But no, they all seem very interested in how the filming was actually done, not so much the book.
But do you have more guests since the Da Vinci Code published?
It's not really done. I mean, a lot of people think, oh, the village is doing wonders for the village. But I mean, the people arrive in buses, you saw it yesterday. They go into the chapel, pay their money, they buy something in the shop, and then they're away. They don't do anything for the village.
I also read in the Scotsman that for a short period you Or was it your granddaughter who sold Da Vinci Code many years?
My daughter-in-law.
Oh yes.
I think more people took a photograph of the sign than of the chapel. Well, the horse was there. I think it's a case of, like everybody else, jump on the bandwagon. I mean, she had a honesty box underneath the sign, and she had so many bags there a day, and people, if they wanted to put a donation in, she said it was 50 pence a bag, and she didn't make a fortune. But as someone said to her one day, is this what you think of the Da Vinci Code?